I believe strongly that addiction, slash alcoholism is the only disease you can suffer from where you treat it and become better than you were before. Any other
Yeah.
disease,
Oh wow. Yeah.
any other disease, the best you can hope for is to become as healthy as you were before you were stricken.
Right.
Whereas alcoholism and addiction, when you treat it, you become this improved version of yourself
Yeah.
that you're better off for having suffered from the disease.
Yeah.
And that's the case with me, absolutely, because
That's a really good way to look at it.
I
Because
never did that. Like I'm functioning at a level now that I simply would not have been capable
yeah.
of before I suffered from alcoholism and treated it.
Right.
So
Yeah.
yeah, but now that's the good news. The bad news is that of all the people who suffer from addiction and alcoholism, I think it's some really dismal fucking statistics like 5%
Right.
achieve long-term sobriety.
I remember you did sober living, and I remember thinking you were doing it for a long time,
I
and I was
stayed
like,
until
"This
I
is
had 2 years.
right." That's when I was like, "That's the difference." Because I've been there, and I didn't
Right.
commit. I couldn't do it. 2 years of
It,
sober living, there's no way I could do it, which meant I fucking broke several times because I never did it the right way.
well, the first time I went to rehab was 1995. I was 20 years old, and
Way back.
way back. Yeah, Jackass didn't come out until year 2000. And 1995, like, I was like a homeless kid. I was fucking, I mean, I suppose I had a car, but I was living out of the car. And yeah, I was just like,
Why live out of a car if your family's well? You like fuck them. Did
it
you have a
was,
falling out with your family?
it wasn't that I was falling out. It's that I wasn't up to anything that they would have, uh, like endorsed, like, I kind of, I think I had a level of pride with, that like if I wasn't gonna ask for a handout, when I wasn't doing
Right.
anything, I wasn't doing anything that my parents would have been on any level fucking stoked about. So I just considered myself on my own,
Okay.
and I was homeless for like 3 years. There was like 3 years of homelessness and couch surfing. And at that, um, I just got a total brain fart for
We're talking about Bam.
yeah, like I don't know. It was there was something fucking.
Do you
I
know what he was at?
Oh yeah, I was in rehab. Okay, so
Okay.
I was
First
so
time.
yeah, I'm a
Yeah.
homeless kid. I went to rehab, and while I was in this rehab, well, I was only 20 years old. I'm not like I'm just like, what am I doing here? The reason I was in rehab was because I had been arrested for drunk driving in that car,
Okay.
and
But you weren't really out of
like
control on drugs and
I mean,
alcohol.
I was showing up in jails and hospitals on a somewhat alarming basis. I just like
For just alcohol, or are you doing other
I
stuff?
mean, I mostly alcohol.
But what else?
Like I was pretty indiscriminate. I hadn't developed like a cocaine habit at that
Okay.
time yet. It's mostly just alcohol and pills and like just whatever I could get. Whatever
Wow. At 20, you were like that.
at 20. Yeah.
Is this around the time when was the time when you backflipped at
Yeah,
the vet?
I broke my skull. Like and it like
Wait, I'm talking about two. You did a backflip at the Tampa.
oh, that was year 2000.
Okay, where you?
That was 5 years later.
Okay, okay.
But yeah, like it was 1995. I mean, dude, like November '94, I had this fucking accident. I had to have surgery on my leg. As soon as I was able to walk in like January of '95, I got all fucked up and threw myself off a second floor balcony at a keg party and landed on my face. I had a broken cheekbone, 7 broken teeth, 10 stitches in my chin, and a broken wrist. And my mom took pity on me because I had broken my teeth, and she got me a dentist appointment to get my teeth fixed. And I had cast on my arm still. Well, I missed the fucking dentist appointment because I get arrested for drunk driving, and I'm in jail. Like with with my broken teeth, with the cast on my wrist, and because I had a cast on my wrist, the people in the jail, they said that I had a potential weapon, which would give the cast was a potential weapon,
They
which
did
gave me.
not cut it off.
They didn't cut it off. No,
Okay.
they didn't cut it off, but they surmised that my cast would give me an unfair advantage if
What
I
about
had
your
any
face? Did that give you an unfair advantage?
kind of. Well, no,
Wasn't half
but
your face broke off as
they
well?
they put me in like the holding with like the longest term inmates in the county jail because I had this fucking potential weapon.
So they put you in
He's
the
got to be in.
extremely tough people.
He's got to be in with the scarier people because I had a cast on my wrist. So
That's
I was like
just-
more freaked out than anything. And I called up my mom, collect call from the jail. So mom, like, hey, come bail me out. She says, I'm not bailing you out of shit. Like, you're
What?
going straight to rehab.
Oh,
So
okay.
that was why I was in the rehab. Now, while I was in the rehab, I'm not like my only reason for being there was because I didn't want to be in jail. I
That's a
wasn't.
good reason.
It was the condition for my mom to bail me out.
Yeah.
And while I'm in this rehab, one of the counselors said something like I forget what it was particularly, but maybe I think it was like only 5% of alcoholics and addicts ever achieve long-term sobriety.
Yeah.
And I remember like being like so offended by that. Thinking like, okay, so this fucking asshole just told me that even if hypothetically I was really into the idea of committing myself to a life of recovery, that I would only have a fucking 5% chance. And I just wrote off the idea of it. I just
Yeah.
became resigned to this being my path. Like I'm not even gonna fucking try because there's no chance. And so for the next 13 years after that, I just lived by that with that resignation that I was
Right.
gonna drink and use myself to death. But then when Knoxville did the intervention, when I'm like in the psych ward there, like all of a sudden, like those statistics which had kept me loaded, now all of a sudden those statistics like served to really motivate me.
I get it.
Because
you're-
because once I
Because
made
I am one of the five.
Yeah.
I am in the
Yeah.
top 5% of making this. Watch
and,
me.
and if the day that I decided to willingly go from the psych ward to rehab, and I've been sober ever since that day. If somebody magically appeared and said, "Hey, before you go and do this rehab thing, I just want to remind you, only 5% of alcoholics and addicts really make it with long term sobriety," I wouldn't have been phased by that. I'd be like, "Okay, so you're telling me it could be done?
All right.
I've beat bigger odds than that in everything I've ever done in my life."
Right.
Like and more importantly, it's crazy because I went from that psych ward to this hospital in Pasadena for rehab called Las Encinas. And at that time, the director of the chemical dependency unit was our buddy Dr. Drew Pinsky.
Oh, sweet.
So I go to Dr. Drew's rehab, and I showed up like being, admitted in. I'm talking to Dr. Drew, and I said to him, I said, "Hey," I said, "Drew, I'm well aware that the odds are not in my favor. And like I don't want to waste my fucking time. Like now I decided to be here and I just don't want to waste my time." So I said to him, "However long you suggest that I stay in this rehab, I want to stay significantly longer to give myself a better chance that this isn't going to be a big fucking waste of my time."
Right.
And he said, "I'd love to hear that." Plus, the fucking rehab, I think, I don't know how many, 30 grand a month. Like, I don't know what, it was a lot. And I'm trying to hand him a blank check, to keep me. And he said, "Hey, I don't recommend that you be here longer than 30 days. But if you are so serious about recovery, then I recommend you go into a sober living." Because going back into the same environment that got you
I
where
know.
you're at, it's just like,
Nobody's
know.
going to understand. No one.
and that was just
Gets
my
it.
attitude from right when I got there. I said, and so those statistics that had kept me loaded were now keeping me sober because I knew that I had to like make this such a priority, that I had to give myself every advantage, that I had to do everything to protect
Right.